Let's bring in Lara Trump, daughter-in-law of the president and Trump 2020 senior advisor. Lara, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
So that brings up the question, can the president deal with women in power? Apparently Nancy Pelosi has some questions about that.
Oh, my goodness, Nancy. That is so ridiculous on every possible level. But it's what the Democrats do. It's identity politics.
Yeah.
It's saying that the president has some problem with women, which is completely crazy. Remember, this is a man, by the way, who was a businessman before he became president. Donald Trump has never judged people based on their gender, based on their color. He judges people based on successes and failures. He's going to be great with all the women in Congress. I guarantee you he's going to have no problem dealing with them.
Listen, you're a big campaign advisor. We've got 2020 is going to be here before you know it.
Tomorrow.
Now it's just next year, tomorrow. You've said in the past, look, there are a lot of women out there who support President Trump, Republican women, but they never say it publicly. They don't post it on social media. But when they go into the voting booth, they put their X down for the president. Why is there this secrecy? What is the problem?
I mean, I think that the media tends to make people feel badly for being a Trump supporter. And whether you're a man or a woman, they try and make you feel badly. There's some notion out there that as a woman, you should be a Democrat. You should be. It's ridiculous. You should be voting based on what you believe in. And if you believe that the president is the right person for this country, then you're going to go vote for him. But I tend to think that the mainstream media has a lot to do with women really not voicing their support very loudly for President Trump. But again, I always say they will get in the voting booth and they will vote for him.
So what do you tell your father-in-law as you head towards 2020? What is the one area he really needs to work on?
Well, listen,
what are you telling him? You know, Mr. President,
I don't tell him a whole lot. If he asks me for my opinion, I certainly give it to him. But he's doing such a great job on his own. And I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens with this border wall funding. Listen, a lot is in Nancy Pelosi's arena right now. We'll see if she wants to keep the government shut down, because it's really kind of on her right now. But I think he's his own best advertiser. He's his own best campaigner. I can get out there and talk to as many people as I want, but the reality is the country is going in the right direction because of this president. So much has turned around. People are more successful now because of this president. And I think that more people will vote for him in 2020 than even voted for him in 2016.
Were you surprised at Mitt Romney's attack on the president, just as he comes back as a senator, his op-ed in the Washington Post, basically saying that Donald Trump isn't fit to be president? I think he used the expression, has not risen to the mantle.
I mean, he hasn't learned his lesson yet. Apparently, Mitt has not learned. And I would like to say I'm surprised by this. Sadly, I'm really not. The reality is the country voted for Donald Trump. The country did not vote for Mitt Romney. He had his shot. This president is doing a great job. I think he could sit back and take a couple cues from the president and learn a thing or two, because this president is doing an incredible job. I think he's a little bit jealous that Donald Trump got the job that he wanted not too many years ago. So maybe it's some sour grapes. Maybe he's a little jealous.
Maybe he's positioning himself for a challenge in 2020 on the Republican ticket.
That would be not very smart of him, because I think the country would be very upset with that. And what a waste of time, effort, and money for him if he actually did something like that.
I'm assuming the family was down in Mar-a-Lago for the Christmas holidays.
We were.
But the president wasn't.
I know.
I get this vision of him kind of moping around in the Oval Office. Did you FaceTime him?
Oh, we talked to him, yes.
Did you?
Yeah, we did. We talked to him. Listen, we all missed him, but we understood. He had to stay in Washington, D.C. He was working very hard, actually, the entire break. Unlike some people who were off in Hawaii having a great time, he was there in the White House, in the Oval Office, working hard for the people of this country, because that's what they wanted him to do, and that's what he knows he has to do. So while we missed him dearly and we wish that he was with us, we totally understood that he couldn't come down.
Is it a lot of people say never would want to be the president of the United States. It's a thankless job. It's the weight on your shoulders. Does he ever talk about being president in a way that, wow, I never thought it was going to be like this? I
mean, I think he misses the old days. I think we all, in a way, miss the old days sometimes. But I think when he travels around this country and he hears from people the impact that he's making in their lives, and you see on the world stage the difference that he's made for our country already, the way the economy is back and booming, and people have jobs who haven't had jobs in many years, and we're respected again around the world. I think he knows this is much bigger than him. It's much bigger than any of us, and I don't think he'd trade it for the world.
Lara Trump, thank you so much for being here
today.
Thank you. Really
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you.